The fluorescent lights of the airport terminal buzzed overhead as Brianna Harris stood frozen, her phone trembling in her hands. The text message on the screen blurred through her tears, but the words burned into her memory like a brand. Can't do this. You've gained too much weight. Too fat to be my wife. Don't come to Mexico. Wedding is off. Lost the deposit, but better than being embarrassed. Don't contact me. Her fingers went numb. The phone clattered to the tile floor. Around her, travelers rushed past with rolling suitcases, excited families headed to vacations, business people absorbed in their devices. No one noticed the beautiful African-American woman in the red sundress, standing perfectly still as her entire world collapsed. Brianna had spent every penny she had on this destination wedding. Her savings account, drained. Her credit cards, maxed out. She'd paid for the venue, the flowers, the photographer, the cake. Gerald had promised to cover the hotel and flights, but he'd insisted she handle the wedding itself. Now she understood why. She trusted him. Loved him for 2 years. Believed him when he said her curves were beautiful, that he loved every inch of her. All lies. Her garment bag hung over her arm, containing the simple cream-colored wedding dress she'd chosen for the beach ceremony. She'd been so excited this morning, carefully curling her hair, applying her makeup with shaking hands. Her brother Tom had driven her to the airport at 5 in the morning, hugging her tight and wishing her happiness. How could she call him now? How could she tell anyone? Brianna's legs gave out. She sank onto a nearby bench, the garment bag pooling around her feet. Travelers continued to stream past. No one stopped. No one cared. She was just another person in an airport, invisible in her pain. Her chest tightened. She couldn't breathe properly. The terminal seemed to spin around her. She'd given up her apartment lease because they were supposed to move in together after the honeymoon. Her furniture was already in storage. She had nowhere to go, no money, no plan. Gerald's words echoed in her mind. Too fat. She looked down at her body, the body she'd learned to love after years of struggling with self-image. She was curvy, yes. A size 16. But she'd thought Gerald loved her as she was. He'd said he did. He'd proposed to her. Asked her to be his wife. All lies. Brianna bent forward, wrapping her arms around herself. Silent sobs shook her shoulders. The airport sounds faded to white noise. She was drowning in humiliation, in betrayal, in fear. What was she going to do? How would she survive this? A businesswoman walked past, talking loudly on her phone about quarterly reports. A family with 3 children argued about snacks. An elderly couple held hands, smiling at each other with the ease of decades together. Everyone had somewhere to go, someone waiting for them. Brianna had no one. Nothing. She fumbled for her phone on the floor, her hands shaking so badly she nearly dropped it again. Maybe she could get a refund on something. Maybe the venue would understand. But even as she thought it, she knew better. The contracts were clear. Non-refundable deposits. Cancellation fees. Gerald had taken everything from her. Her money, her dignity, her future. And he'd done it with a single text message, not even having the courage to face her. The airport intercom crackled overhead, announcing boarding for a flight to Cancun. That was supposed to be her flight. She was supposed to be heading to paradise, to marry the man she loved. Instead, she sat alone on a hard bench, her dreams shattered around her like broken glass. Brianna pressed her hand to her mouth, trying to muffle the sounds of her crying. She didn't want to make a scene. Didn't want strangers staring at her. But the pain was too much, too overwhelming. It poured out of her in waves, each one stronger than the last. How had she been so blind? Had there been signs? Had Gerald always been this cruel and she just refused to see it? Her phone buzzed with another message. Hope flared for just a second before dying completely. It wasn't Gerald apologizing. It was the airline, asking if she needed assistance with her check-in for the Cancun flight. Brianna deleted the message. She wasn't going anywhere. Have you ever felt completely abandoned by someone you trusted with your whole heart? If this story moves you, please subscribe and comment below about a time when kindness saved you. Your stories matter, and sharing them might help someone else who feels alone today. Christopher Bennett walked through the airport terminal with the practiced ease of someone who traveled constantly. His navy blue suit was perfectly tailored, his leather briefcase comfortable in his hand. At 42, he'd learned to navigate airports efficiently, avoiding crowds, knowing which routes moved fastest. He'd just returned from a business conference in Chicago, finalizing a deal that would expand his technology company into 3 new markets. It should have felt like a victory. Instead, he just felt tired. Empty. The feeling had become familiar in the 3 years since Patricia's death. Success meant nothing when you had no one to share it with. Money couldn't fill the silence of his mansion. Awards couldn't replace the sound of her laugh. Christopher was heading toward the exit when he saw her. A woman sat on a bench near gate 17, her body curved inward like she was trying to disappear. Her red sundress was bright against the gray airport seating. A garment bag lay crumpled at her feet. She was crying, not the polite tears people tried to hide, but the kind of sobbing that came from genuine anguish. His first instinct was to keep walking. He had a car waiting, a schedule to maintain. Other people's problems weren't his responsibility. But something stopped him. Maybe it was the way she held herself, like someone who'd been knocked down and didn't know how to get back up. Maybe it was the garment bag, clearly containing something important. Maybe it was just that he knew what it felt like to sit in a public place and feel completely alone. Christopher changed direction. As he got closer, he could see she was beautiful. Dark skin, natural hair pulled back in an elegant bun, features that would be striking if they weren't twisted with pain. She looked young, maybe late 20s, and absolutely heartbroken. "Excuse me," Christopher said softly, not wanting to startle her. "Are you all right?" The question was foolish. Obviously she wasn't all right. But he didn't know what else to say. Brianna looked up, her eyes red and swollen. She seemed startled that anyone had noticed her, had stopped. For a moment she just stared at him. She started, then her voice broke. "No, I'm not all right." Christopher set down his briefcase and sat on the bench beside her, maintaining a respectful distance. "Is there someone I can call for you? Family? A friend?" She shook her head, fresh tears streaming down her face. I can't." "Take your time," Christopher said. His voice was gentle, patient. Patricia used to say he had a gift for making people feel heard. "There's no rush." Brianna took a shuddering breath. Then another. Slowly the words came out. "I was supposed to get married today. Destination wedding in Mexico. I spent everything I had on it. Everything. And my fiancé, he texted me. Told me I was too fat to be his wife. Called off the wedding. I have no money left. No apartment. No plan. I don't know what to do." The words hung in the air between them. Christopher felt anger flare in his chest, hot and immediate. What kind of person did that? What kind of coward abandoned someone via text message on their wedding day at an airport? "I'm so sorry," he said, and meant it. "That's cruel. And wrong. You deserve better than that." Brianna let out a bitter laugh. "Do I? Maybe he was right. Maybe I am." "Stop," Christopher said firmly but kindly. "Don't let his cruelty become your voice. Whatever he said, it's about his character, not yours." She looked at him again, really looked this time. "Why did you stop? Everyone else just walked past." "Because I know what it feels like to lose everything," Christopher said simply. 3 years ago my wife died. Cancer. I had all the money in the world, the best doctors, every resource possible. None of it mattered. I couldn't save her. And afterwards I sat in places just like this, feeling exactly how you look right now." Brianna's expression softened. "I'm sorry." "Thank you." Christopher paused, considering his next words carefully. "My name is Christopher Bennett. And I'd like to help you if you'll let me." "Help me how?" Brianna asked, confusion replacing some of the pain in her eyes. "First, let's get you somewhere more comfortable than this bench. Have you eaten today?" She shook her head. "I couldn't. I was too nervous about the flight." "Then we start there. There's a restaurant near the main terminal. We'll get you some food and we can talk about what comes next. No pressure. No expectations. Just two people having a conversation." Brianna hesitated. I don't have money for a restaurant. I told you I spent everything." "My treat," Christopher said. "Please. Let me do this." "Why?" she asked. "You don't know me." Christopher thought about that. Why was he doing this? He could write her a check, send her on her way, continue with his own life. But something about this moment felt significant. Like standing at a crossroads. "Because sometimes we're put in someone's path for a reason," he said. "And because no one should be alone on what was supposed to be their wedding day. Will you join me? Just for a meal?" Brianna looked at him for a long moment. He could see her weighing the decision, considering whether to trust a stranger. Finally she nodded. "Okay. Thank you. I'm Brianna. Brianna Harris." "It's nice to meet you, Brianna." Christopher stood and offered his hand. Even under these circumstances. She took his hand and he helped her up. She picked up her garment bag, holding it close. "Should we check that?" Christopher asked, gesturing to the bag. "No," Brianna said quickly. I paid for this dress. I'd like to keep it with me. Of course. They walked through the terminal together, an unlikely pair. Christopher matched his pace to hers, not rushing, letting her set the rhythm. Around them, the airport continued its constant motion, but for the moment, they existed in their own small bubble of conversation. What kind of business are you in? Brianna asked as they walked. Technology. Software development mostly. Very boring stuff with computers and data. A small smile crossed her face. I doubt it's boring if you're successful at it. Success is relative, Christopher said. I've learned that money solves some problems but creates others. It can't buy the things that really matter. Like what? Brianna asked. Like having someone to talk to at dinner? Like laughter? Like purpose beyond profit margins? He glanced at her. What do you do, Brianna? I'm a baker. Well, I work at a bakery. But my dream is to be a chef. To have my own restaurant someday. She paused. That probably sounds silly now. I can't even afford rent. It doesn't sound silly at all, Christopher said. Dreams are what keep us moving forward. Especially when everything else falls apart. They reached the restaurant, a nicer establishment near the business class lounges. The host recognized Christopher immediately. Mr. Bennett, welcome back. Your usual table? Please. And we'll need menus. The host led them to a quiet corner table with a view of the runways. Planes took off in the distance, carrying people to new destinations, new lives. Brianna sat down, still holding her garment bag. She looked overwhelmed by the elegant surroundings. Order anything you'd like, Christopher said. Truly, whatever sounds good. I don't know if I can eat, Brianna admitted. My stomach is still in knots. Then we'll start with something simple. Soup. Tea sounds nice. Christopher ordered for both of them, adding soup and bread to the request. When the server left, he turned his attention back to Brianna. Tell me about your restaurant dream, he said. What kind of food would you serve? And slowly as she began to talk, Christopher saw the light return to her eyes. The soup arrived, warm and fragrant. Brianna found herself eating despite her earlier certainty that food was impossible. Christopher was easy to talk to, asking questions that showed genuine interest, listening like her words mattered. She told him about growing up in her grandmother's kitchen, learning to bake bread from scratch, the magic of watching simple ingredients transform into something beautiful. She described her dream restaurant, a place that combined traditional recipes with modern techniques, where food was about connection and community. Your ex-fiancé, Christopher said carefully, did he support these dreams? Brianna's expression clouded. He said he did. But looking back, he always found reasons why it wasn't the right time. Why I should wait. Keep my job at the bakery. Be practical. She stirred her soup absently. I think he liked keeping me small. Some people are threatened by their partner's potential, Christopher observed. They prefer to keep others down rather than rise together. Is that what happened with you? Brianna asked, then immediately looked apologetic. I'm sorry. That's too personal. No, it's all right. Patricia and I were partners in every sense. She believed in me before I believed in myself. When I started my company, everyone said I was crazy. The market was crowded, the odds were impossible. But Patricia saw something I didn't. She took our savings and invested it in my first prototype. Christopher smiled at the memory. She was my first investor, my first employee, my first cheerleader. She sounds wonderful. She was. Losing her, it broke something in me. I kept working because I didn't know what else to do. Built the company bigger, made more money, achieved every goal we'd set together. But none of it meant anything without her there to share it. He looked at Brianna directly. That's why I stopped when I saw you today. Because I recognized that look. The look of someone whose world just ended. Brianna felt tears threatening again. I feel so stupid. I should have seen the signs. Gerald was always making little comments about my weight, my appearance, suggesting diets or gym memberships. I thought he was trying to be helpful. He was being controlling, Christopher said firmly. And you're not stupid for trusting someone you loved. That's what love is supposed to be. Trust, partnership, support. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the background noise of the restaurant filling the space between them. What will you do now? Christopher asked gently. Do you have family you can stay with? My brother Tom. He lives in an apartment though. Small place. I can probably crash on his couch for a while. Brianna's voice was small. I'll need to find a new place, figure out my finances. Maybe pick up extra shifts at the bakery. It'll take months to recover from this financially. Christopher set down his teacup. What he was about to say was crazy. Impulsive. Completely unlike his usual careful, measured approach to life. But something about this moment felt right. Meant to be. I have a different proposal, he said. Brianna looked up, curious. Marry me instead. The words hung in the air. Brianna's eyes went wide with shock. What? She managed. I know how this sounds, Christopher said quickly. I know we just met. But hear me out. You were supposed to get married today. You have a dress, you had a plan for a new life. What if we just change the groom? You're joking, Brianna said. You're making fun of me. I'm completely serious. Christopher leaned forward, his expression earnest. Think about it practically. You need financial stability, a place to live, time to rebuild your life. I can provide all of that. And he paused, searching for the right words. I've been alone for 3 years. Rattling around in a house that's too big, going through the motions of life without really living. Maybe this is fate. Maybe we were both supposed to be in this airport today. You want to marry me? A stranger. Because we both had bad days. Brianna's voice was incredulous. I want to help you. And maybe you can help me too. We could be partners. Friends. Give each other a reason to move forward. Christopher reached across the table, stopping just short of touching her hand. I'm not proposing a fairy tale. I'm proposing a practical arrangement that benefits us both. You get security, I get companionship. We face life together instead of alone. Brianna shook her head. This is insane. People don't do this. You don't marry someone you met an hour ago. Why not? Christopher challenged. You were going to marry Gerald. How long did you know him? 2 years? And he showed you exactly who he was today. Time doesn't guarantee anything. Character does. And in this past hour, I've seen more of your character than he probably ever saw. You don't know me, Brianna protested weakly. I know you're kind. You apologize for asking about my late wife, showing empathy even in your own pain. I know you're creative and ambitious. Your eyes lit up when you talked about your restaurant dream. I know you're brave because you were planning to start a new life today, even though it was scary. Christopher's voice was steady, certain. I know enough. Brianna stared at him. Why would you do this? Really? You're a billionaire. You could have anyone. Could I? Christopher asked softly. Because for 3 years I've been alone. People want Christopher Bennett, the successful businessman. The rich widower. No one wants just Christopher. The man who still cries sometimes when he hears his late wife's favorite song. The man who eats dinner alone every night in a house with 12 bedrooms. His honesty pierced through Brianna's defenses. I can't pay you back, she whispered. I have nothing to offer. You're wrong. You have everything to offer. Conversation. Laughter. Purpose. A reason to care about tomorrow. Christopher pulled out his phone. My assistant Helen is brilliant at logistics. One phone call and she can arrange everything. A license, a ceremony, whatever you need. We could be married by tonight. Tonight. Brianna's head was spinning. You were supposed to get married today anyway. Why not keep that plan? Just with a different ending. This is crazy, Brianna repeated. But her voice lacked conviction now. Because as insane as this was, what was her alternative? Crawling back to her brother's couch, broken and humiliated? Spending months, maybe years, recovering from Gerald's betrayal? What if this was fate? What if kindness and hope could lead to something good? I'm scared, she admitted. Me too, Christopher said. But maybe that means it's worth doing. Brianna looked at the garment bag beside her chair. She'd imagined this day so many times. Walking down an aisle, promising forever to someone who loved her. Gerald had stolen that dream. But maybe, just maybe, she could reclaim it. Differently than she'd planned, but reclaim it nonetheless. If I say yes, she said slowly, this is real? Not some joke that you'll regret tomorrow? I never joke about commitment, Christopher said. If we do this, I'm all in. Full partnership. I'll support your dreams, you'll be part of my life. We'll figure out the rest as we go. I don't love you, Brianna said bluntly. I don't love you either, Christopher replied with equal honesty. Not yet. But I liked Patricia before I loved her. Respect and friendship came first. Maybe that's a better foundation anyway. Brianna took a deep breath. This was insane. Absolutely insane. But staying in the pain, the humiliation, the fear felt worse. Okay, she heard herself say. Yes, I'll marry you. Christopher smiled, a genuine smile that transformed his whole face. Thank you. I promise you won't regret this. He pulled out his phone and dialed. Helen? I need you to arrange something unusual. 3 hours later, Brianna stood in an airport chapel she hadn't known existed, wearing the simple blue dress that Helen had somehow procured in her size. The assistant had proven to be a miracle worker, arriving at the airport with documents, a dress, and the calm efficiency of someone who handled billionaire requests regularly. "Mr. Bennett likes to help people," Helen had said while helping Brianna change in a private lounge. "This is unusual even for him. But I can see why he did it. You have an honest face." Helen Rodriguez was in her 50s, with warm brown eyes and an accent that spoke of her Puerto Rican heritage. She'd looked at Brianna with assessment but not judgment, which was more than Brianna had dared hope for. Now Brianna held a small bouquet of white roses that Helen had also somehow manifested. Christopher stood beside her in his navy suit, looking calm and certain. Father Joseph Murphy, a kind-faced priest who served the airport's interfaith chapel, stood before them with an open book. The witnesses were an odd collection: Helen, 2 airport security guards who'd agreed to help, and a janitor who'd been cleaning the chapel when they arrived. "This is the strangest wedding I've performed," Father Murphy said with a gentle smile, "but I've learned that love works in mysterious ways. Are you both certain this is what you want?" "Yes," Christopher said firmly. Brianna swallowed hard. "Yes. Then we'll begin. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here in the sight of God and these witnesses to join Christopher James Bennett and Brianna Nicole Harris in holy matrimony." The words washed over Brianna in a surreal wave. Was this really happening? Was she actually marrying a man she'd met 4 hours ago? But what was the alternative? What did she have to lose that Gerald hadn't already taken? "Christopher," Father Murphy said, "do you take Brianna to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better or worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, as long as you both shall live?" "I do," Christopher said, his voice steady. "Brianna, do you take Christopher to be your lawfully wedded husband, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better or worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, as long as you both shall live?" This was it. The moment of choice. She could still say no, walk away, figure out life on her own. But something in Christopher's eyes, some quality of genuine kindness, made her believe this was right. "I do," she said. Christopher pulled out 2 simple gold bands. More of Helen's efficient magic, Brianna assumed. He slipped one onto her finger. It fit perfectly. "I promise to be your friend," Christopher said quietly, "just for her. To support you. To be honest with you. To make this work." Brianna slipped the other band onto his finger, her hands trembling. "I promise the same. To try. To be grateful. To see where this goes." "Then by the power vested in me," Father Murphy said with a warm smile, "I now pronounce you husband and wife. Christopher, you may kiss your bride." Christopher leaned in, giving Brianna a soft, respectful kiss on her lips. It was gentle, brief, and somehow felt like a promise of more to come. The small group clapped. Helen wiped at her eyes, clearly more moved than she wanted to admit. One of the security guards snapped a photo with his phone. "Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Bennett," Father Murphy said. Mrs. Bennett. Brianna Harris was now Brianna Bennett. She'd expected to change her name today, just not like this. Helen stepped forward with papers to sign. Marriage certificate, official and legal. Brianna signed with a hand that shook slightly. Christopher signed with confidence. "Done." "My car is waiting outside," Christopher said. "Are you ready to go home?" Home. Brianna didn't have one of those anymore. But apparently she did now. "Yes," she said. "Thank you. For all of this. I know I haven't said it enough, but thank you." "You're welcome," Christopher replied. "And Brianna? We're going to be okay. Both of us." They walked out of the chapel together, husband and wife. The airport continued its constant motion around them, thousands of people moving through their own stories. Somewhere in Mexico, a venue was empty, a wedding that would never happen. Somewhere in the city, Gerald was probably congratulating himself on dodging a bullet. But here in this moment, Brianna felt something she hadn't expected: hope. Helen drove them in a sleek black car that probably cost more than Brianna used to make in a year. Christopher sat beside Brianna in the back seat, maintaining a respectful distance but close enough that she could feel his presence. "Tell me about your house," Brianna said, needing to fill the silence. "It's large. Probably too large for one person, which is why I'm glad you'll be there now. Patricia loved it though. She designed most of it before she got sick." Christopher looked out the window. 12 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms, a pool, gardens. There's a library that she filled with books. A music room with a piano that no one plays anymore. and a kitchen that's gone mostly unused except when the cook prepares my meals. A cook? Brianna asked. Her name is Susan. She comes 3 days a week. But she mostly just leaves meals in the refrigerator that I heat up alone. Christopher turned back to Brianna. I'd like you to feel free to use the kitchen whenever you want. If cooking is your passion, the space is yours. Really? Brianna felt a spark of interest. Really? In fact, maybe you could take over planning the menus. Susan is wonderful, but she cooks what she knows I'll eat, which has become a fairly boring rotation. Fresh perspective might be nice. They drove through increasingly upscale neighborhoods, houses getting larger, yards more manicured. Finally, they turned into a long driveway lined with trees. The house appeared like something from a magazine. Modern architecture mixed with classical elements, all glass and stone and elegant lines. Lights glowed warmly in the windows. It's beautiful, Brianna breathed. It's home, Christopher said simply. You're home now too. Helen parked and came around to open doors. I took the liberty of having some clothes and essentials brought to the main guest room, she said to Brianna. They should be in your size. If anything doesn't fit or you need something else, just let me know. Thank you, Brianna said, overwhelmed by the woman's efficiency. You've been so kind. Mr. Bennett inspires loyalty, Helen said with a smile. You'll see why. Christopher led Brianna inside. The entry hall was stunning, with high ceilings and artwork that probably cost more than Brianna's entire education. But despite the elegance, it felt empty. Cool. A house but not quite a home. Let me show you to your room, Christopher said. They climbed a curved staircase to the second floor. Christopher opened a door to reveal a bedroom that was larger than Brianna's old apartment. A king-size bed with a blue comforter, windows overlooking gardens, an ensuite bathroom visible through another door. This is yours, Christopher said. For as long as you need it. My room is down the hall if you need anything, but I want you to feel comfortable. This is your space. Brianna set down her garment bag, the wedding dress she'd never worn to the ceremony it was intended for. Where do we go from here? She asked. We take it one day at a time, Christopher said. Tomorrow we can talk about the practical things. Bank accounts, access to resources, whatever you need. Tonight just rest. It's been an overwhelming day. That's an understatement, Brianna said with a weak laugh. Christopher smiled. Good night, Brianna. I'm glad you're here. Good night, Christopher. He left, closing the door softly behind him. Brianna stood alone in this beautiful room, in this incredible house, married to a man she barely knew. What had she done? But as she sank onto the comfortable bed, she realized something. For the first time since reading Gerald's text, she didn't feel panicked. She felt safe. Uncertain, yes. Confused, absolutely. But safe. And maybe that was enough for now. Sunlight streamed through unfamiliar windows, waking Brianna from the deepest sleep she'd had in months. For a moment she didn't remember where she was. Then it all came flooding back. The airport. Christopher. The wedding. This house. She sat up, taking in the elegant bedroom in daylight. Everything was expensive, tasteful, perfect. Nothing like anywhere she'd ever lived before. Her phone on the nightstand showed 8 missed calls from her brother Tom and a dozen texts asking if she was okay. She needed to call him. Explain. But what could she possibly say that wouldn't sound completely insane? A soft knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. Yes, she called. It's Christopher. May I come in? Yes. He entered carrying a tray with coffee, juice, and pastries. He was dressed casually in jeans and a green polo shirt, looking younger and more relaxed than yesterday. I thought you might be hungry, he said, setting the tray on the dresser. I didn't know how you take your coffee, so I brought cream and sugar. Black is fine, Brianna said, touched by the gesture. Thank you. You didn't have to do this. I wanted to. Besides, we need to talk about practical matters, and that's easier with coffee. Christopher sat in an armchair near the window, giving her space. How did you sleep? Better than I expected, honestly. This bed is amazing. Patricia picked it out. She had good taste and comfort. Christopher's expression remained neutral when he mentioned his late wife, but Brianna sensed the old pain underneath. I need to call my brother, Brianna said. He's probably worried sick. I disappeared yesterday without explanation. Of course. And actually, that's one of the things we should discuss. How do you want to handle telling people about this? Brianna sipped her coffee, considering. I don't know. The truth sounds crazy. Hey Tom, I got abandoned at the airport, met a billionaire, and married him 4 hours later. That'll go over well. Christopher smiled. We could keep it simple. You met someone who helped you during a difficult time. Things moved quickly. It's not a lie, just edited. Will people believe it? Brianna asked. Does it matter? We know what's true. We made an agreement that works for both of us. Their opinions don't change that. You make it sound easy, Brianna said. I've learned that caring too much about what others think is exhausting, Christopher replied. People will talk regardless. We might as well live our truth. Brianna nodded slowly. Okay. I'll call Tom after breakfast. What else did you want to discuss? Money mainly. I want you to feel secure. Christopher pulled out his phone and showed her a bank account screen. I've opened an account in your name. There's $50,000 in it to start. Consider it walking around money while we figure out what you need longer term. Brianna choked on her coffee. $50,000? I can't take that. Why not? Christopher asked calmly. You're my wife now. What's mine is yours. That's how partnerships work. But we're not. This isn't a real marriage, Brianna protested. It's legally real. The paperwork is filed. We said vows. It's as real as any other marriage, just with different circumstances. Christopher leaned forward. Brianna, I'm not doing this to make you feel obligated. I'm doing it because you deserve security after what you went through. Please accept it with gratitude as we agreed. Brianna remembered his words from yesterday. About accepting help without hesitation. About letting kindness lead. Okay, she said quietly. Thank you. That's incredibly generous. Good. Now, I also want to discuss your job. Do you want to keep working at the bakery? I don't know. I need to think about it. Working keeps me grounded, but... Brianna trailed off. But it's not your dream, Christopher finished. You want your own restaurant. So let's make that happen. Christopher, a restaurant costs hundreds of thousands to start. I can't ask you for that. You're not asking. I'm offering. Think of me as an investor. You create a solid business plan, I provide the capital. If the restaurant succeeds, great. If it doesn't, we learn from it and try something else. Brianna felt tears prickling her eyes. Why are you being so kind to me? What do you get out of this? I get to watch someone talented pursue their dreams. I get conversations over dinner instead of silence. I get a reason to care about something besides profit margins. Christopher's voice was sincere. And maybe, eventually, I get a friend. That's worth more than money could ever be. They finished breakfast while discussing more practical details. Christopher gave her the security codes for the house, showed her how to operate the various systems, explained that she was free to come and go as she pleased. You're not a prisoner here, he emphasized. This is your home. You can redecorate, invite friends over, do whatever makes you comfortable. Can I see the kitchen? Brianna asked. The real one, not just the coffee maker in my room. Christopher grinned. I was hoping you'd ask. Follow me. He led her downstairs through elegant hallways lined with art. The kitchen was a dream. Professional-grade appliances, marble countertops, a double oven and more cabinet space than Brianna had ever seen in a residential setting. Patricia loved to cook, Christopher said softly. Before she got sick, she'd spend hours in here experimenting with recipes. After she died, I couldn't face it. Susan uses it for basic meal prep, but it's been underutilized. Brianna ran her hand along the smooth counter. It's perfect. It's yours now. Use it however you want. Fill it with whatever ingredients you need. Experiment. Create. Make it come alive again. A woman's voice came from behind them. Is that what you're planning to do with my kitchen? They turned to see an older woman with silver hair and kind eyes standing in the doorway. She wore casual clothes and carried grocery bags. Susan, Christopher said warmly. I didn't expect you today. This is Brianna. My wife. Susan's eyebrows shot up, but she recovered quickly. Wife. Christopher, what have you done? It's a long story, he admitted. But a good one. Brianna is a baker and aspiring chef. I've invited her to take over the kitchen if she'd like. Susan looked at Brianna with assessment, then smiled. About time this space got some real use. I've been telling him for years that my cooking is too boring. Can you make anything besides sandwiches and roasted chicken? Brianna laughed, warming to the woman immediately. I think I can manage that. Good. Then the kitchen is yours with my blessing. I'll still do shopping and basic prep if you need, but I'd love to see what you can create. Susan set down her bags. Welcome to the family, dear. However this happened, I'm glad Christopher isn't alone anymore. The doorbell rang, echoing through the house. That'll be Helen, Christopher said. She's bringing some paperwork. Brianna, would you like to join us, or would you prefer to explore on your own? I'll explore if that's okay. I want to call my brother anyway. Of course. I'll find you later. Christopher left. Susan began unpacking groceries, humming to herself. Brianna wandered back toward the stairs, her phone in hand. Time to face Tom. She dialed his number. He answered on the first ring. Bri? Well, thank God. I've been calling you for hours. Are you okay? Did you make it to Mexico? Why aren't you answering? Tom, I need you to listen without interrupting, Brianna said. Can you do that? You're scaring me. I'm okay. I'm safe. Actually, I'm better than okay. But something happened yesterday and you're not going to believe it. She told him everything. The text from Gerald. The abandonment. Meeting Christopher. The proposal. The wedding. Tom was silent throughout, which was unusual for her normally talkative brother. When she finished, he said, You married a stranger. I married a kind man who helped me when I had nothing. Yes. Bri, this is insane. You could be in danger. You don't know this man. I know he's been nothing but generous. I know he respected my boundaries. I know he gave me a choice when I had none left. Or he's a con artist, Tom said. Or worse. Rich men don't just marry random women at airports. This doesn't make sense. Brianna felt frustration rising. You know what doesn't make sense? Gerald abandoning me via text after I spent every penny I had on our wedding. Christopher gave me hope when I had none. Can't you just be happy for me? Tom sighed heavily. I want to be. I do. But I'm scared for you. I'm your big brother. That's my job. Then trust me. Trust my judgment. If anything feels wrong, I'll leave. But right now this feels right. It feels like fate. Fate, Tom repeated skeptically. Come meet him, Brianna said impulsively. Come to dinner tomorrow night. See for yourself that I'm okay. That he's genuine. Please? Pause. Okay. I'll come. But if I don't like what I see... You will, Brianna assured him. I promise. They talked for a few more minutes, Tom extracting promises that she'd check in daily, that she'd be careful, that she'd leave at the first sign of trouble. When they finally hung up, Brianna felt drained but relieved. One hurdle cleared. Many more to come. But as she looked around the beautiful house, the reality settled in. She was Mrs. Christopher Bennett now. And somehow, impossibly, she was starting to believe it might all work out. The following evening, Brianna stood in the kitchen preparing dinner for Tom's visit. Christopher had insisted they hire catering, but she'd refused. This was her chance to show what she could do, to prove this wasn't just charity but a real partnership. She was making braised short ribs with roasted vegetables and homemade rolls. Comfort food with an elegant twist. The kitchen smelled amazing, filled with rich aromas that made the house feel more like a home. Christopher appeared in the doorway, drawn by the scent. That smells incredible. What can I do to help? You could set the table, Brianna said, stirring a sauce. Tom should be here in about 30 minutes. Nervous? Christopher asked, pulling plates from a cabinet. Terrified. He thinks I've lost my mind. He's protective. That's a good quality in a brother. I'd be suspicious too if I were him. Christopher carried plates to the dining room. Just be yourself. The rest will follow. They worked in comfortable silence, moving around each other in the kitchen with surprising ease. Over the past 2 days they'd fallen into a rhythm. Breakfast together, then Christopher would work in his home office while Brianna explored the house or experimented in the kitchen. Lunch was casual, often eaten while discussing books, movies, or childhood memories. Dinner was more formal, a chance to really talk. Brianna was learning about him in layers. He was funny with a dry wit that caught her off guard. He was patient, never pushing her to be more than she was ready to be. He was still deeply grieving Patricia, evidenced by the way his voice softened when he mentioned her. And he was kind. Genuinely, consistently kind. The doorbell rang. Brianna wiped her hands on a towel, suddenly anxious. That's him. Do you want me to answer it? Christopher offered. No. I should. Brianna walked to the front door and opened it. Tom stood on the porch, dressed in his best slacks and button-down shirt. He was tall, sharing Brianna's dark skin and high cheekbones. His expression was guarded, protective. Hey, she said. Hey yourself. Tom pulled her into a tight hug. You look good. Healthy. That's something. Come in. Dinner's almost ready. Tom stepped inside, his eyes widening as he took in the entry hall. Whoa. This is, wow. Christopher appeared from the dining room, hand extended. You must be Tom. I'm Christopher. It's good to meet you. Tom shook his hand, sizing him up. You too. Thanks for having me. Of course. Any family of Brianna's is welcome here anytime. Christopher gestured toward the dining room. Shall we? Brianna has prepared something that smells better than anything I've had in years. They settled at the dining table. Brianna served the food, her hands trembling slightly. This mattered. Tom's approval mattered. Tom took a bite of the short ribs and his eyes widened. Bri, this is amazing. This is restaurant quality. That's the goal, Brianna said, relaxing slightly. Christopher thinks I should open my own place. Among other things, Christopher added. She's incredibly talented. Would be a waste to keep that talent hidden. Tom looked between them, clearly trying to understand their dynamic. So how exactly did this happen? The real story, not the edited version Bri gave me on the phone. Christopher and Brianna exchanged glances. Then Christopher spoke. I was returning from a business trip. I saw your sister crying in the airport terminal. Anyone with a heart would have stopped to help. When I heard what happened, what her ex-fiancé had done, I was angry. No one deserves that kind of cruelty. So you proposed marriage? Tom's tone was skeptical. I proposed a solution. I'm a problem solver by nature. Brianna needed stability and I've been alone too long. It made sense. To you maybe. To most people it sounds insane. Most people aren't in our situation, Brianna interjected. Tom, I know how this looks. But Christopher has been nothing but respectful. I have my own room. My own space. He's not pressuring me for anything. So this is what, a business arrangement? Tom asked. It's a partnership, Christopher corrected. With the potential to become more or to remain what it is. We're figuring it out as we go. Tom ate in silence for a moment, processing. And if Bri wants to leave? Then she leaves, Christopher said simply. With financial support to start over and no hard feelings. I'm not keeping anyone here against their will. You're not what I expected, Tom admitted. What did you expect? Someone sleazy. Someone taking advantage. Someone who'd try to buy my sister's compliance. Tom looked at Christopher directly. But you seem genuine. That's almost more confusing. Christopher smiled. I've learned that honesty is simpler than games. I told Brianna my intentions from the start. Companionship. Partnership. A chance for both of us to heal from our respective losses. If that makes me unusual, so be it. The tension at the table eased as they continued eating. Tom asked Christopher about his business, his interests, his life. Christopher answered openly, not hiding anything. He talked about Patricia without flinching, about his grief, about the loneliness that had become his constant companion. You really loved her, Tom observed. More than anything. Which is why I understand how precious love is. And why I'm not interested in replacing her. Brianna and I are building something new. Different. Based on friendship and mutual respect. Tom turned to Brianna. Are you happy? Really? Brianna considered the question carefully. I'm healing. Christopher is giving me space to do that. He's encouraging my dreams. Making me feel valued. Am I happy? Not yet. But I think I could be. For the first time since Gerald's text, I have hope. That seemed to satisfy Tom. Okay. I still think you're both crazy. But I can see this isn't what I feared. You're safe and that's what matters. Thank you, Brianna said softly. After dinner they moved to the living room. Christopher showed Tom his collection of vintage records, and they bonded over shared musical tastes. Brianna watched them interact, feeling something warm in her chest. This could work. They could be a family, unconventional as it was. When Tom left, he hugged Brianna tight. Call me if you need anything. Anything at all. I will. I promise. Christopher closed the door behind him. That went well, I think. Better than I hoped. He likes you. He loves you. That's what matters. He wanted to make sure you're safe and happy. They walked back to the living room together. Brianna sank onto the couch, emotionally exhausted. Christopher sat in a nearby chair. Thank you for today, Brianna said. For being patient with Tom. For understanding why his opinion mattered. Family is important. I get that. Christopher paused. My mother wants to meet you, by the way. I've been putting her off, but she's persistent. What have you told her? Brianna asked nervously. The truth. That I met someone special. That we got married quickly. That I'm happier than I've been in years. Christopher smiled. She's thrilled. My late wife and my mother were close. She's been worried about me being alone. When does she want to come? Brianna asked. This weekend if you're comfortable with that. She lives about 2 hours away. Usually visits once a month anyway. Okay. I can do that. They sat in comfortable silence, the evening winding down. These moments were becoming Brianna's favorite. No pressure, no expectations. Just two people sharing space. "Can I ask you something?" Brianna said. "Always. Do you ever regret this? Proposing to me? Taking on my problems?" Christopher looked at her seriously. "Not once. You're not a problem, Brianna. You're a person who deserved better than she got. Helping you isn't a burden. It's the best decision I've made in 3 years." Brianna felt tears threaten. "I don't know how to thank you. Keep being yourself. Keep cooking amazing food. Keep filling this house with life. That's thanks enough." She smiled. "I can do that." Have you ever wondered what would happen if you said yes to something scary? Sometimes the biggest blessings come from the biggest leaps of faith. If this story is touching your heart, please subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. What would you do in Brianna's situation? Saturday arrived with sunshine and Brianna's nerves. Margaret Bennett would arrive any minute, and Brianna had spent the morning making sure everything was perfect. She'd baked fresh scones, prepared tea sandwiches, and arranged fresh flowers in the living room. Christopher had assured her repeatedly that his mother would love her, but Brianna couldn't shake her anxiety. This was different from Tom. Margaret was Christopher's family, Patricia's former mother-in-law. She had every reason to be suspicious or hostile. "You're going to wear a hole in the floor," Christopher observed, watching her pace. "What if she hates me? What if she thinks I'm trying to replace Patricia?" "She won't. My mother is wise and kind. She'll see what I see, someone genuine who's making me smile again." A car pulled into the driveway. Brianna took a deep breath. Margaret Bennett was elegant, with white hair styled perfectly and eyes the same color as Christopher's. She wore a lovely lavender pantsuit and carried herself with quiet grace. When Christopher opened the door, she embraced him warmly. "There's my boy. You look better. Less drawn." She turned to Brianna. "And you must be Brianna. Come here, child." To Brianna's surprise, Margaret hugged her too. Not a brief, polite hug, but a real one. The kind mothers give. "It's so nice to meet you, Mrs. Bennett," Brianna managed. "Call me Margaret, please. We're family now." She held Brianna at arm's length, studying her face. Pretty. Kind eyes. Christopher always had good taste. They settled in the living room. Brianna poured tea with hands that trembled slightly. Margaret accepted a scone and took a delicate bite. "Delicious. Christopher mentioned you're a baker. This shows real skill." "Thank you. It's my passion." "Good. A woman should have passions beyond her husband. I taught both my sons that." Margaret sipped her tea. "Christopher has told me very little about how you met. Just that it was unusual and happened quickly. I'd love to hear the real story if you're comfortable sharing." Brianna glanced at Christopher, who nodded encouragingly. She told Margaret everything. The whole painful story. Gerald's abandonment, the financial devastation, meeting Christopher at the airport. Margaret listened without interrupting, her expression thoughtful. When Brianna finished, Margaret set down her teacup. "That ex-fiancé of yours is a fool. And cruel besides. You're better off without him." "That's what I told her," Christopher said. "And you," Margaret turned to her son, "you saw someone in pain and helped. Just like your father would have done. I'm proud of you. So you're not upset?" Brianna asked hesitantly. "About how fast this happened?" "Upset? Dear, I'm relieved. Christopher has been a ghost for 3 years. Going through the motions but not really living. Patricia's death broke something in him. I've watched him shrink further into himself, hiding behind work." Margaret reached over and squeezed Brianna's hand. "And then you came along. Suddenly he's calling me, excited about something. Talking about plans in the future. Do I wish you'd had a longer courtship? Perhaps. But I'm not going to question what works." "Patricia wouldn't be upset?" Brianna asked softly. "I'm not trying to take her place. I know I never could." Margaret's eyes misted. "Patricia was one of my favorite people in the world. Losing her was like losing a daughter. But she loved Christopher more than anything. Her greatest fear was that he'd stop living after she died. She made me promise to push him to move forward." Margaret smiled. "She'd be happy right now. She'd probably like you better than I do, honestly. She always was a better judge of character." Christopher cleared his throat, clearly emotional. "Mom? It's true. She'd be giving me earfuls about not being welcoming enough." Margaret looked between them. "So, tell me your plans. Are you thinking about children?" "I'm not getting any younger, you know." Brianna nearly choked on her tea. Christopher laughed, a real, genuine laugh that transformed his face. We're taking things one step at a time, he said. Brianna's going to open a restaurant. That's the immediate plan. A restaurant? Wonderful. You'll have to let me invest too. They spent the afternoon talking. Margaret was funny and warm, sharing stories about Christopher's childhood, about Patricia, about the family. She treated Brianna like she'd always been part of them, asking about her background, her dreams, her relationship with Tom. When Tom arrived for dinner as planned, Margaret greeted him like an old friend. You must be the protective brother I've heard about. Good. Brianna needs people who look out for her. Dinner was lively, filled with laughter and conversation. Brianna served the meal she'd prepared: rosemary chicken, garlic potatoes, and roasted asparagus. Margaret praised everything, asking for recipes and cooking tips. After dinner, Margaret pulled Brianna aside while Christopher and Tom cleaned up. Can we talk privately? Margaret asked. Of course. They went to the garden, walking among late-season flowers. Margaret took Brianna's arm gently. I need to say something and I want you to really hear it. Christopher is fragile in ways he doesn't show. He's strong, successful, capable. But Patricia's death nearly destroyed him. It took everything he had to keep going. Margaret stopped walking, facing Brianna. What I'm saying is, please be kind to him. However this marriage evolves, whatever it becomes, please be gentle with his heart. He's offering it to you even if he's not ready to admit that yet. Brianna felt the weight of those words. I would never hurt him deliberately. I believe that. But hearts are tricky things. They heal and break in unexpected ways. Margaret smiled. I see how he looks at you. Like maybe the world has color again. Don't take that lightly. I won't. I promise. They walked back inside together. Christopher and Tom were arguing playfully about sports teams, both laughing. It felt normal. Like family. Margaret left as the sun set, hugging everyone goodbye. Brianna, you're welcome at my house anytime. Don't be a stranger. I won't. Thank you for accepting me. Thank you for making my son smile again. After she left, Tom also prepared to go. She's great, he said to Brianna. This whole situation is still weird, but I can see why you feel safe here. These are good people. They are, Brianna agreed. You deserve good people, Bri. After Gerald, you deserve the best. Christopher walked Tom out, leaving Brianna alone for a moment. She looked around the living room at the home that was slowly becoming hers too. Family pictures on the mantel, including ones of Patricia. Books and comfortable furniture. Signs of life and love. She'd been terrified that today would be awkward or hostile. Instead, she'd been welcomed with open arms. Accepted. Embraced. Maybe this really was fate. Christopher returned, finding her lost in thought. You okay? More than okay. Your mother is wonderful. Tom likes her. Everyone likes everyone. Brianna smiled. This is the first time since the airport that I feel like things might actually work out. They will, Christopher said with certainty. Because we're both committed to making them work. That's more than most marriages start with. Your mother said something to me. In the garden. Should I be worried? Christopher asked with a slight smile. She said you look at me like the world has color again. Is that true? Christopher was quiet for a moment. Yes, it is. I didn't realize how gray everything had become until you arrived. Now things feel possible. Does that scare you? A little, Brianna admitted. But in a good way. They stood together in the living room, not touching but close enough to feel each other's warmth. Something was shifting between them, subtle but real. Friendship was deepening into something more. Neither of them was ready to name it yet. But it was there, growing stronger each day. 2 weeks later, Brianna's phone rang with an unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello? Bri? It's Gerald. Her blood went cold. She hadn't heard his voice since before the airport, before the text that destroyed everything. Now it sounded wrong, unwelcome. How did you get this number? She demanded. From your old apartment manager. Look, I need to talk to you. Can we meet? Absolutely not. We have nothing to discuss. Please. I made a mistake. I was wrong. I saw the news about you marrying some rich guy and I realized what I lost. Gerald's voice turned pleading. I want you back, Bri. I want to make this right. Brianna laughed, a harsh sound. You want me back? Now that you think I have money. How convenient. That's not it. I genuinely miss you. I was scared, okay? The wedding felt too real too fast. I panicked. But I've had time to think and I know now that you're the one I want. You had your chance, Gerald. You threw it away with a cruel text message at an airport. Brianna's voice was steady despite her anger. And now you see pictures of me with Christopher and suddenly you care? That's not love. That's greed. Christopher. You're calling him by his first name like you actually know him. Bree, you married a stranger. That's insane. Come back to reality. Come back to me. I'm back to reality. The reality where I'm treated with respect. Where someone values my dreams and encourages my talents. Where kindness is the foundation, not cruelty disguised as concern. Christopher appeared in the doorway of the room where Brianna was taking the call. He must have heard her raised voice. She met his eyes, drawing strength from his steady presence. Is that him? Gerald demanded. Put me on speaker. I want to talk to him. No. This conversation is over. Brianna felt calm, centered. Don't contact me again, Gerald. I'm not coming back. I'm moving forward. You should do the same. You're making a mistake, Gerald said angrily. He'll get bored of you. He'll see what I saw. You'll be alone again, except this time you'll be divorced and used. Or I'll be happy. Which is more than I ever was with you. Goodbye, Gerald. She hung up. Her hands were shaking, but from adrenaline rather than fear. Christopher crossed the room. Are you okay? Surprisingly, yes. That felt good. Standing up to him. Choosing this life over whatever he was offering. What was he offering? Christopher asked carefully. A chance to come back. He saw the news about our marriage and decided he made a mistake. Brianna shook her head. He thinks you'll get bored of me. That I'm making a mistake. And what do you think? Christopher asked. Brianna looked at him. Really looked. At the man who'd stopped for a stranger in an airport. Who'd offered marriage without expectation. Who'd been patient and kind and respectful for weeks now. I think Gerald never saw me. He saw a woman he could control, could keep small. You see me. The real me. My dreams, my potential, my worth. That's not a mistake. That's a blessing. Christopher smiled, a genuine expression that reached his eyes. Good. Because having you here has been the best thing to happen to me in 3 years. Gerald is a fool. He wanted to talk to you. Probably to warn you off or insult me further. He can want all he likes. You're not his anymore. You're your own person making your own choices. And if I'm lucky, those choices include staying here. The moment stretched between them, charged with something new. Brianna felt her heart speed up. When had Christopher stopped being just her benefactor and become someone she looked forward to seeing every day? Someone whose smile made her day better? Gerald was wrong about something else, Brianna said softly. He said I don't really know you. But I do. I know you're kind. I know you're patient. I know you listen when I talk. I know you encourage my dreams without taking credit for them. I know you still miss Patricia terribly, but you're trying to live anyway. I know you're one of the best people I've ever met. Christopher's expression softened. He reached out hesitantly and took her hand. His touch was warm, steady. I know you too, he said. I know you're brave even when you're scared. I know you're talented beyond measure. I know you're generous with your kindness. I know you make this house feel like a home. I know I look forward to every meal, every conversation, every moment I spend with you. They stood there, hands linked, something shifting and settling into place between them. This wasn't the practical arrangement they'd agreed to anymore. It was something deeper. Something real. Brianna's phone buzzed with a text. Gerald again. Please don't shut me out. We can work through this. Christopher glanced at the screen. Do you want to block his number? Yes. Definitely yes. Christopher took her phone and helped her block Gerald's number and email. There. He can't reach you anymore. If he tries other methods, let me know. I have lawyers who can send a cease and desist letter if necessary. Thank you. For everything. For being here, for supporting me, for not judging me for my past choices. Your past choices led you to that airport, Christopher said. Which led you to me. I'm grateful for them, even the painful ones. The rest of the day passed quietly. Brianna cooked dinner, one of her experimental dishes she was considering for her future restaurant. Christopher worked in his office but emerged regularly to check on her, to taste test, to chat. Over dinner he asked, Are you really okay? Gerald's call must have stirred up difficult emotions. It did. But mostly it confirmed that I made the right choice. Being with him would have meant shrinking myself, hiding my light, accepting his version of who I should be. Being here means growing, shining, becoming who I'm meant to be. I'm glad you see it that way. Some people might have doubted after hearing from their ex. Some people don't have what we have, Brianna said. Then paused. What do we have exactly? Christopher considered the question seriously. Friendship. Partnership. The beginning of something more, maybe. If we both want that. Do you? Brianna asked, her heart pounding. Want something more? I think I do. I wasn't sure at first. I thought maybe I was just grateful to not be alone. But it's more than that. You make me want to wake up in the morning. You make me laugh. You make me think about the future with hope instead of dread. Christopher met her eyes. I'm falling for you, Brianna. Slowly, carefully, but definitely. Brianna's breath caught. I'm falling for you too. It scares me. After Gerald, I didn't think I could trust my judgment about men. But you're nothing like him. You're everything I didn't know I needed. We don't have to rush, Christopher said. We can take this at whatever pace feels right. There's no pressure. I know. That's part of why I'm falling for you. You never push. You just offer and let me choose. They finished dinner in comfortable silence, both processing what had been said. Lines had been crossed today. The practical arrangement was becoming a real relationship. And surprisingly, that felt right. Later, as Brianna headed upstairs to her room, Christopher called after her. Brianna? I'm really glad you're here. I'm glad you answered when I asked if you were all right at the airport. I'm glad you said yes to my crazy proposal. I'm glad for all of it. Me too, she said with a smile. Me too. 3 months had passed since the airport wedding. Autumn had arrived, painting the gardens in gold and crimson. Brianna's restaurant plans were taking shape. She'd found the perfect location, developed a menu, and started hiring staff. Opening day was scheduled for December. Her relationship with Christopher had deepened naturally, organically. They spent most evenings together, sometimes talking for hours, sometimes just existing in comfortable silence. He'd started joining her in the kitchen, learning to cook under her patient guidance. She'd started sitting in his office while he worked, reading or planning while he handled business calls. They hadn't changed their sleeping arrangements. Brianna still had her room, Christopher his. But the distance between them had shrunk in every other way. Hands that brushed during dinner. Hugs that lasted longer than strictly necessary. Looks that said more than words could. Brianna knew she was in love with him. Had been for weeks if she was honest. But saying it felt like the last barrier, the final step that would make this completely real. One Friday evening, Christopher asked her to dress up for dinner. Something special, he said mysteriously. Wear your favorite dress. Brianna chose a beautiful maroon dress that Helen had helped her pick out during a shopping trip. It fit perfectly, making her feel elegant and confident. She styled her hair in soft curls and applied makeup with care. When she came downstairs, Christopher was waiting in a green suit that made his eyes stand out. He looked handsome, polished, and slightly nervous. You look beautiful, he said, offering his arm. You look pretty great yourself. What's the occasion? You'll see. He led her not to the dining room but out to the garden. Brianna gasped. The entire space was transformed. String lights hung from trees, candles glowed on every surface, and a table for two was set with fine china and flowers. Christopher, this is gorgeous. When did you do this? Helen helped. I wanted tonight to be special. He pulled out her chair. We need to talk. Brianna's heart sank slightly. Those words never led anywhere good. Okay. Dinner was served by a catering staff Christopher had hired. The food was excellent, but Brianna barely tasted it. She was too nervous about what Christopher wanted to discuss. Finally, after dessert was cleared away, Christopher reached across the table and took her hand. I need to tell you something. Something I should have said weeks ago. You're scaring me, Brianna admitted. Don't be scared. This is good. At least, I hope you'll think it's good. Christopher took a deep breath. When I asked you to marry me at the airport, I told you it was practical. A solution to both our problems. Companionship and stability. And at the time that was true. Or at least, that's what I told myself. Brianna listened, her pulse racing. But I wasn't being completely honest. Not with you and not with myself. Christopher's grip on her hand tightened. From the moment I saw you on that bench, something in me recognized something in you. Pain calling to pain. Loneliness recognizing loneliness. But also strength. Beauty. Worth. I was drawn to you immediately. Christopher. Please let me finish. I need to say this. He took another breath. I proposed because I couldn't walk away. Because something in me knew you were important. I told myself it was just kindness, just helping someone in need. But it was more than that. It was hope. Hope that maybe I could feel something again besides grief. Hope that maybe fate had put you in my path for a reason. Brianna felt tears starting to form. These past 3 months have been the happiest I've been since Patricia died. Every morning, I wake up excited to see you. Every conversation makes me think. Every smile you give me feels like a gift. You've brought life back to this house. To me. Christopher stood, still holding her hand, and moved to kneel beside her chair. I'm not asking you to feel the same way. But I need you to know the truth. I'm in love with you, Brianna. Completely, genuinely in love. And I want this marriage to be real. Not on paper, not as an arrangement, but real. If you'll have me. The tears spilled over. Brianna couldn't speak for a moment, overwhelmed by emotion. That's what this is? She finally managed. That's why you're telling me this? Yes. I needed you to know. Even if you don't feel the same, even if you want to keep things as they are, I needed to be honest. Christopher looked vulnerable in a way she'd never seen before. Is there any chance you might feel something similar? Brianna laughed through her tears. You beautiful, wonderful, ridiculous man. Of course I feel the same way. I've been in love with you for weeks. I just didn't know how to say it. Christopher's face transformed with joy. Really? Really? You saved me, Christopher. Not just at the airport but every day since. You showed me what real partnership looks like. What kindness and respect and support mean. You encouraged my dreams, celebrated my victories, supported me through my fears. How could I not fall in love with you? He stood, pulling her up with him, and wrapped her in his arms. This hug was different from all the others. Tighter, more certain, full of promise. I was so nervous, Christopher admitted into her hair. I thought maybe you'd want to keep things platonic. That I'd ruined everything by wanting more. Never. I want more too. I want all of it. The real marriage. The future. Everything. Christopher pulled back just enough to look at her face. May I kiss you? Really kiss you, not like at the ceremony? I've been waiting for you to ask for weeks, Brianna said with a smile. Their kiss was soft at first, tentative. Then deeper, more confident. It tasted like promise and hope and new beginnings. When they finally broke apart, both were breathless. Wow, Brianna said. Yeah. Wow. Christopher grinned. I should have done that sooner. You did it at exactly the right time. We both needed to be ready. They swayed together under the string lights, a slow dance without music. The garden was perfect, the night was perfect, everything was perfect. What happens now? Brianna asked. Now we figure out the rest together. As partners. As husband and wife. As two people who love each other. Christopher kissed her forehead. And maybe eventually you move into my room instead of the guest room? Brianna laughed. Maybe. Let's take it one step at a time. But yes. I want all of it. With you. I love you, Brianna Bennett. I love you too, Christopher Bennett. The words felt like magic. Like the final piece of a puzzle clicking into place. This had started as a practical arrangement in an airport, two broken people trying to survive. Now it was a real marriage built on friendship and respect and genuine love. Fate had been kind to them after all. December arrived with the first snowfall and the grand opening of Brianna's restaurant. She'd named it New Beginnings, a name that felt appropriate given her story. The restaurant was elegant but welcoming, with warm lighting and comfortable seating. The menu showcased Brianna's talent, blending traditional recipes with innovative techniques. Every dish told a story, honored her grandmother's teaching while pushing culinary boundaries. Opening night was packed. Tom came with his girlfriend. Margaret arrived with several friends. Helen was there with her family. Even Susan came, proud of her former kitchen protégé. But most importantly, Christopher was there. He'd insisted on being present despite Brianna's protests that he'd be bored watching her work. Bored watching my wife achieve her dreams? Impossible, he'd said. The evening was a stunning success. Critics praised the food, customers raved about the atmosphere, and by the time they closed, Brianna had reservations booked for weeks. Christopher found her in the kitchen after the last customer left, sitting on a counter looking exhausted and elated. You did it, he said, wrapping his arms around her. You actually did it. We did it. None of this would have been possible without you. I provided money. You provided talent, vision, and incredibly hard work. Don't diminish your achievement. Brianna leaned into him, feeling the satisfaction of a dream fulfilled. Remember the airport? When I thought my life was over. How could I forget? Best day of my life, even if you didn't know it yet. If someone had told me then that 6 months later, I'd be married to the man who stopped to help me, madly in love, and opening my own restaurant, I would have thought they were crazy. Life is funny that way. The worst moments can lead to the best ones. They sat together in the quiet kitchen, surrounded by the evidence of Brianna's success. This was just the beginning. The restaurant would grow, their love would deepen, and life would continue to unfold in unexpected ways. 2 weeks later, Christopher planned another surprise. He'd arranged for them to renew their vows, this time with all their family and friends present. A real ceremony to celebrate their real love. The wedding was held at the house, in the garden where Christopher had confessed his feelings. It was small, intimate, and perfect. Brianna wore a cream-colored dress with red flowers woven into her hair. Christopher wore a navy suit that made him look handsome and happy. Tom walked Brianna down the makeshift aisle. Margaret cried happy tears. Helen smiled from her seat. All the people who'd supported them were there to witness this moment. Father Murphy performed the ceremony again, this time with everyone knowing the full story. "When I married you two the first time," he said with a smile, "I sensed something special. You both needed each other even if you didn't fully understand how yet. Now, months later, I see that intuition was correct. You've built something beautiful together. A partnership based on respect, kindness, and genuine love." Christopher and Brianna faced each other, hands linked. "Brianna," Christopher said, "6 months ago I asked you to marry me in an airport. It was impulsive and crazy and the best decision I've ever made. Today I ask you again. Will you continue to be my wife? To build our life together? To face whatever comes with hope and love?" "Yes," Brianna said, tears streaming down her face. "Every day, yes." "Christopher," Brianna continued, "you saved me when I needed saving. You believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. You showed me what real love looks like. Today I promise to honor that. To support you, to challenge you, to grow with you. To love you for the rest of my life." "I promise the same," Christopher said, his own voice thick with emotion. "To cherish you, to support your dreams, to be your partner in all things. To love you completely and forever." They exchanged new rings, these ones engraved with the date they'd first met. A reminder that sometimes the worst days lead to the best beginnings. "I now pronounce you husband and wife," Father Murphy said with genuine joy. Again. And this time, everyone knows it's real. Their kiss was met with applause and cheers. Tom whistled. Margaret dabbed at her eyes. Helen captured it all on video. The reception was joyful, full of music and dancing and celebration. Brianna danced with Tom, with Christopher, with anyone who asked. Christopher gave a toast that had everyone laughing and crying. "To my beautiful wife," he said, raising his glass. "Who taught me that life can surprise you in the best ways. Who showed me that hope is always possible. Who fills every day with laughter and love. Thank you for saying yes. At the airport, at the garden, and every day since. I love you." "To new beginnings," Brianna added, raising her own glass. "To kindness from strangers. To taking chances. To love that heals. And to my husband who saw me when I felt invisible. I love you more than words can say." As the party continued around them, Christopher and Brianna stole a quiet moment together. "Happy?" Christopher asked. "Beyond happy. Content. Fulfilled. Grateful." Brianna smiled. "I never imagined happiness could look like this." "Neither did I. But I'm learning that the best things in life are the ones we never saw coming." "Do you think Patricia would approve?" Brianna asked softly. She'd thought about Christopher's late wife often, hoping she'd understand. "I think she'd be thrilled. She always wanted me to be happy. To find love again. To live fully." Christopher pulled Brianna closer. "I'll always love her. She'll always be part of my story. But you're my future. And I'm excited to see where that leads us. Wherever it leads, we'll face it together." "Together," Christopher agreed. Months continued to pass. The restaurant thrived, becoming one of the city's most popular dining destinations. Brianna hired more staff, expanded her menu, and even started offering cooking classes. Christopher's business continued to grow, but he made sure to prioritize time with Brianna. They established traditions. Saturday morning cooking together, Sunday evening movie nights, Wednesday date nights at different restaurants for research. Tom visited regularly, often bringing his girlfriend. Margaret became a fixture in their lives, visiting weekly and treating Brianna like the daughter she'd always wanted. One evening, almost a year after that day in the airport, Brianna found Christopher in his office looking at something on his computer. "What are you looking at?" she asked. "Photos from the airport. Helen managed to get security footage from that day. Look." He showed her the screen. There they were, captured by airport cameras. Christopher approaching her on the bench. Brianna looking up with tears on her face. The two of them walking toward the restaurant together. "That's us," Brianna breathed. "That's where it all started." "That's where we saved each other," Christopher corrected. "I helped you practically, but you helped me emotionally. You gave me a reason to live again." Brianna studied the images. Two people who'd been strangers, brought together by circumstance and choice. Who'd taken a crazy chance that had paid off beyond either's imagination. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you'd kept walking?" she asked. "Never. Because I didn't keep walking. I stopped. And that choice gave me everything." Christopher pulled her into his lap. "Fate, destiny, chance, whatever you want to call it. I'm just grateful it happened." "Me too. Every single day." They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the security footage loop. A moment frozen in time. The beginning of their story. Life wasn't perfect. They had challenges, disagreements, stressful days. The restaurant faced difficult reviews sometimes. Christopher's business had ups and downs. But they faced it all together with the foundation of respect and love they'd built. Brianna never heard from Gerald again. Occasionally she wondered what he thought when he saw articles about her restaurant, her success, her happy marriage. But mostly she didn't think of him at all. He belonged to a different life, a different version of herself. On their first anniversary, Christopher took Brianna back to the airport. To that same terminal, that same bench. "Why are we here?" Brianna asked. "Because this is sacred ground. This is where everything changed." He pulled out a small box. "And because I have something for you." Inside was a delicate necklace with a charm shaped like an airport terminal. "So you never forget where we started," Christopher said. "And how far we've come." Brianna put it on immediately. "It's perfect. You're perfect. Not perfect. Just right for you." They sat on that bench together, hand in hand. Around them, travelers rushed past, each absorbed in their own journeys. Somewhere, someone else was probably having the worst day of their life. Somewhere, someone else was experiencing unexpected kindness. "Should we make this an anniversary tradition?" Brianna asked. "Coming back here every year?" "I think that's a beautiful idea. A reminder that sometimes the worst moments lead to the best beginnings. That kindness matters. That hope is always possible. And that love can heal anything," Brianna finished. Christopher kissed her softly. "Exactly." They stayed a while longer, remembering and celebrating. Then they stood, ready to continue their life together. A life built on a foundation of kindness, hope, and love. The story that began with abandonment and pain had transformed into one of joy and partnership. Brianna had found not just security but genuine love. Christopher had found not just companionship but renewed purpose. Together, they'd created something neither had imagined possible that day in the airport. A real marriage. A true partnership. A love that would last. And it all started because one man chose kindness when he could have kept walking. Because one woman chose hope when she could have given up. Sometimes, the best love stories begin in the most unexpected places. Sometimes, strangers become soulmates. Sometimes, the worst day of your life leads to the best decision you'll ever make. For Brianna and Christopher Bennett, that day at the airport was all of those things and more. It was the end of their old lives and the beginning of their forever. And they lived happily, gratefully, lovingly ever after.